Well, hello there, everybody. Smoking in the boys' room. Yeah, I know no one did that here in this group. Well, welcome everyone. How are y'all doing? So good to see everybody as we get things locked down, pushed around, turned around. We're heading in the right direction. The bus knows where to go. So that's the cool thing. So, welcome everybody. Brownsville Station. Gotta love it as we get over here. And there I am again. Imagine that. Well, it's a good day. I think it is. I don't know. Let me just speak favor over all of us. Nothing missing and nothing broken. And Gilbert, happy birthday to your mom. Iris, as y'all saw in the chat, I put it in there. 102 years old. Way to go. That's all I got to say is way to go. And didn't I see you say, Gilbert, she had a shot of bourbon and danced? That's what I'm talking about. Growing old is not for the weak of heart or mind or body, really. Think about it. But I believe that there's a certain wonder, a certain blessing, if you want to call it, for being able to become older. I'm still in my youth because no one explained to me what a grown-up was. No one gave me a definition. And quite frankly, what I have witnessed in my life, and I'm sure that perspective would be shared by others who in my adventure, um, I don't like most grown-ups. I don't think they know what they're doing. And I don't buy into this, never have. Um, it's in my chart, right, Cindy? I mean, it's kind of like there. It's like I I just view that I'm different phase of youth. And now the great anticipation is at some point, as Jean-Luc Picard once said, I sense that my days ahead of me are far fewer than those behind me. But as I finish that thought out, the great adventure awaits the next part. And so being able to grow older and to experience old age, or so they say, um, it's really far out. You know, no one told me what it was to be youth. What is that? Yeah. What is young? Some people think that 70 is old. Not really. I mean, if you think that you could live to be 120, you're in your midlife. And anyway, Gilbert, send your mom a bunch of love. All the rest of y'all send Gilbert's mom, whose name is Iris, send it there. So there we go. I have to go back and read the chat. I wasn't, Jan, how are you doing? I heard the Chinese celebrate the end of youth into adulthood at 83. You got it, girl. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I've heard people say act your age. What does that mean? They didn't give me a manual that said, well, this is what you do when you turn 24. I ain't gonna get that. I didn't get that memo. But anyway, Lauren, how are you, sweetie? Good to see you. Retro Roman Doomsday and Simulation Channel. Greetings. Greeting to you. Speak in favor of you. Chloe, how you doing? So, Chloe, I have given a number of the crystals that I bought from you, the spheres, to other people, and wow, they're pretty powerful. Person actually said that. I can feel the power. Blazing River, favor be to you, brother. Peter, how you doing? I'm just going to go back because, and I don't know what the hubbub was about I guess between John and how to say mission control. I trust that's been worked out. I mean, you know, we're all human, so we can all have those moments, but yeah, yeah. Uh, by the way, Gilbert, love the package from the church. Thank you very much. Jet, good to see you, brother. What's up? Jackie J, nothing missing. She's in the Hall of Fame with the shirts. Uh, Greg, what's up to? Ba, 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 ba. Yep, love is the answer. Love is the answer. Who was that song? England Dan and John Fort Coley. Yeah. Love the music. Love the music. My wife tells me all the time, she says, when you pass over, you've got this jukebox, Gilbert, you can do that. I know there's many of you that dig music just as much as I do. I mean, come on, Brownsville Station. Come on, tell me what you were doing when that song was out. Were you smoking in the boys' room? Yeah. True story for me. I was got really in a, confusing place, the youth and, but I literally hung out in the boys' room. Um, yeah. You ever lack for quarters? I got really good at that. So, but is that just me? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. And I have no idea what the chicks did. I have no idea. Um, you know, maybe some of y'all can enlighten, you ladies can enlighten us guys as to, okay, so what did the girls do? And, I don't know. I'm sure it was, something. And I can remember Tommy had come out, the Who, and I can remember someone was like playing that, and yeah, someone said, "Yeah, my approach to growing old is embrace it with wonder, walk in favor, forgive quickly, and rebuff anger. No person is strong enough to carry it. Anger, according to Proverbs, is one of the main sources of arthritis. Why? Anger dries the bones. And if your bones dry out, you know the net result. It's true. True, true thing. My left knee, I used to run a lot and it's great for the cardio, but it's hell on the joints. And I'm not talking about the ones you smoke. But so I've had a number of surgeries on both knees, and my orthopedic surgeon couldn't understand this, that on my left knee, um, it's basically kind of bone on bone, but it doesn't give me any problem at all. It confounds him, as he said. So, Dr. Johnson, there you go. DC, what's up? Good to see. Hello, Rick. How you feeling, brother? New America and all new again. What's up? Good to see you. Gaia, much love to you. And Paul, how are you? What school did you attend? Um, the one I did when I was with my mother, I still can't tell you right now. I know it was near uh, Tower Grove and Shaw's Garden, it's in that area. But in Houston, Texas, yeah, attended a couple of them. Beverly Hills High School, hmm Robert E. Lee High School, Lamar High School. Yeah. Anyway, fun. Adriel, good to see you, Professor. Hats off to you, brother. I love the handle. I love that. Cluster folks. Fuchs, is that right? I knew a Rabbi Fuchs. I was thinking about converting to Judaism. The guy says we were smoking too. I knew it. I knew it. And so, I had a Gentile Western perspective of what it meant to be Jewish. And at the time, I was dating a Jewish gal. Um, and so I was serious about it. And so we were living in Nashville. And so I went to see this rabbi. Hmm. We really never got into the second meeting. I mean, yeah, I may be an outspoken individual, but he literally was sitting in his chair and leaned forward. And, in body language, that's an aggressive move, a power move. You're moving into other people's space. And he looked at me with all sincerity and said, Mr. Steiger, do the Jewish people a favor, don't convert. So I guess that's where the end of the relationship went. I don't know. It's just saying. But anyway, Kundalini said West County kids. I have to go back and check that up again. So anyway, um, how about yesterday? This is the first time I've actually had a chance to really interact with everybody, looking at everyone in the chat room. Hey, beautiful Susie Q, what you doing, sweetie? There's Elderberry. Good afternoon to you, sir. And Lost in Space is in the room. Ba, 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 ba. Ruben, how you doing? Good to see you as well. 1212. It is, isn't it? So, wasn't yesterday a good show? We're going to do next Thursday. Get ready for it. And it's going to be, as Mike said, as we were exiting. And I tell you, I just really, really have so much great respect and admiration for those two. Um, you know, the return of the gods. I think there's a lot of legitimacy to this. I really do. Yeah. So anyway, be not, we'll have to explore it to see it on a Thursday thing. I saw some emails and some comments. So, all right. So let's get into some fun stuff. Um, the question is, before all of us, is what are you manifesting? Your dreams or your nightmares? Blazing Rizzer, what's that? Didn't Ben do most? Yes, indeed. Yeah, Ben did. That's where I learned the whole thing. You can, if you get the information, you can pretty much predict. Yeah, that's what Lynn and I met Ben in 2015. He came to Denver. He was still living out in Pittsburgh, I believe. And yeah, really nice guy and happy for him and all the success. I just hope, Ben, that you're wrong on the catastrophism. But when you got the geological record, I mean, what do you do with that? Going, no, 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 no. Yeah. So anyway, much respect to Ben and everything. And, it's part of the suspicious observers back in the day. Colleen, how are you doing? Tell you what, this girl, she does research like no one else. Yeah. In fact, giving you a shout out. Purgatory Traveler. It's cloudy and chilly in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Well, all I can say is that I know that well. It's not here. We have turkeys, and I tell you, turkeys are just beautiful birds, and they can fly. Um, and last evening, um, we put out feed for the deer, and right there, as it was getting near dusk, um, from out of the forest, the woods, I saw the first one, and that she is the second generation from the mother 2 years ago. And I told Lynn, I said, as we were looking out from the deck, I said, there's got to be more. And sure enough, as mom got, to a point, and you could see here come one of the, and then came another. There were three of them. So it's just wonderful. And I tell you, seeing the bluebird of happiness, I don't care where you perspective, for me, that is like, if you're looking for omens, that is probably one of the best ones, the bluebird of happiness. And they are beautiful. Solid blue in the back, and they have this beautiful rust color chest, and it's just quite a beautiful bird. And then today we saw a red-tipped blackbird. Spring is abounding. Love it, don't you? I mean, so the question I had, and please answer that. Everyone in the chat room, much love to you. So serious. All right, so Professor Steiger's talking. And someone said, well, big fucking deal about that. Exactly. That's my point. But anyway, um, so what have you manifested? Can you give me a list of what you've manifested in the last year? Do you ever stop and think about that? Do you keep a list? Do you keep an inventory? Or do you just kind of roll the dice and just see what the day brings? Can you, with all honesty, tell the group here, and if you're watching this on replay, thank you. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you for sharing. Someone wrote me and said, for your guy that, comes from a marketing background, he said, you're really bad at marketing yourself. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, as I digress here. Um, what have you manifested? We talk about it all the time. I see all the different channels manifesting this, manifesting that. And if you haven't manifested anything, then why even bother? I mean, is it all just bullshit? A lot of hype, someone to get clicks and views so they can get more ad money from YouTube? Is that what it is? And it's just all a bunch of bullshit? Because no one's doing it. There's something greater than all of us, and we have no role to play in this. That pretty much sucks if you really believe that, but let's just say that is not the case, right? Because it isn't the case. I believe that each and every one of us are playing a vital role in this greater tapestry. But manifestation, do we really manifest that which we think about? Is it true? If you can't tell me what you've manifested in the last year, can you tell me what you've manifested in the last month? Have you manifested anything? How about the last week? Have you manifested anything at all? Do you stop and actually give thought to it to the point that you're so serious that you write it down? This is what I am going to manifest. Remember, well, see, it had to have been now nearly 4 years ago when I did that series, It Works. And remember, I made my list. And quite interestingly, that list is coming to pass. It's still active. It's a living document. But I can tell you, a home, um, the lawn equipment that was going to be needed, just a whole list of other things on that list. And I just check them off when that happens. The one on that list just happened here pretty recently. So Gaia says it's coming in so fast. What is that, guy? I should have read the. the more of the comment. It's like, hmm, but anyway, Kudelin King says it works if you work it. Yeah, and it's one of those things that we just take for granted. We live our day in and day out. And I don't know. I mean, it depends, I guess, on how organized you are. Are you disciplined? Are you consistent? Um, those are all things. But, on the other side of that same coin, there's nothing wrong being a free spirit. Yeah. They say the happiest soul is the soul that owes no one anything, owns nothing more than what they can carry, and is obligated to no one else but themselves. I have a comment on that. That requires commitment. That requires um, a total dedication. And because that is a life of where manifestation comes in and plays a huge role. In society, the nanny state, where they want to take you from the cradle to the grave and you don't have to do anything more but just be the louche for the machine. People live their lives in quiet desperation, seeking affirmation for who and what they are, seeking purpose for what they're doing. And sadly, it's not a popular topic. That's why this channel is where it's at. I mean, you know, I mean, y'all know this. The stuff that we cover ain't exactly the type of conversation you would have at a cocktail party. Maybe after everybody is bloody ass drunk, maybe, you know. Even that, I would say you'd have to be cautious. Um, but then there's those other times where you start speaking stuff and you've like completely lost the first couples that were there. But what's interesting enough is that you'll have someone come up and say, because they heard, and that's a technique in itself, is how to be in a crowded room and be able to drop in multiple conversations, but be a part of none of them. Yeah, there we go. You know, and sometime I got Don McLean in my head, castles in the sky, it's like, this is what he says. I won't be a part of her cocktail generation. Couples dance without any romance. It's like, yeah, all right, cool. So, uh, getting back to that whole manifesting stuff. Thank you for the. I see all the hearts just floating by. Uh, cool. There we go. Gaia says it's a gift. It is a gift. So let's get down to the real basics of this. I found a really cool book, and I want to share a little bit of it because, well, I'll just show you how it is. Hey man, I really dig the hearts. Those are really cool. All right, so this is on my Kindle, and you know, I think you're going to like this. It's one of those books that gets you to thinking. So this is called The Secret Depths of Manifestation, a journey through the magic of thought, discovering the power of manifestation. And I love how this author is positioning this. And I think it's very basic. But one thing I've seen in life is that sometimes we really miss the basics. We think we know it. For instance, before I get started, when's the last time you ever did a sheet of multiplication problems? When's the last time you did a sheet of simple arithmetic, addition, division, multiplication? Think about it. You say, well, I know how to multiply. Oh, okay. When's the last time you did it? you know. So there's a world beneath our world, a place not hidden by doors or locked behind walls, but tucked quietly beneath the surface of things we think we know. It hums in the spaces between thoughts, glimmers behind the edges of mirrors, and breathes through the winds that carry wishes too small to speak aloud. This world is made of dreams, of fears, of wonders, imagined and forgotten. It is shaped not by hands, but by hearts, and it listens. You've brushed against it before, haven't you? That strange tug in your chest when you almost remember something from a dream. That feeling when the shadows on the walls almost look like something alive. That impossible moment when you wish for something silly and for a flicker of a second, it feels like the world might actually give it to you. That world has a name, manifestation. And once a boy named Leo Thistlewick found it, or perhaps it found him. Leo wasn't the sort of child grown-ups paid much attention to. He collected odd buttons, listened to the wind like it was speaking directly to him, and always seemed to be watching something no one else could see. But he was curious, deeply curious, and curiosity, dear reader, is the first spark of manifestation. This isn't a story of spells or potions. It isn't about wands and wizardry. It is about the thoughts that become real, the wishes that bloom into worlds, and the shadows that grow when imagination is left unchecked. So lean in. The pages ahead are filled with secret places, whispered riddles, forgotten dreams, and ancient power waiting to be awakened. Are you ready to go deeper? Good. Just don't forget to bring your thoughts with you. They might become something more than you ever imagined. And we talk about this, but here's my whole point. If you're not manifesting purposely those things that you need in your life, what's going on? If you find yourself in lack, well, what's going on? I mean, unless that's a lifestyle you choose, and hey, I can dig that. But most people I know have always strived or imagined, believed, hoped for, prayed for um, more comfort. Then that's what really humans do. They seek more comfort. And in this crazy world, depending on what your definition of comfort is, it can either be something that you can manifest quickly or something that will require sometimes years in order for it to manifest at all. So where do you stand on the equation? All right. Again, if you want this, this is on Kindle. It's well worth it. It's a great book, and I think you're going to love it because the little bit I'm going to read here, it's going to pull you back down to earth and look at this as though you're looking at through the eyes of a child, because the eyes of the child is the one where the true magic kind of happens. It's where true manifestation takes place, and I think it was even written by the guy in the book of Matthew who said, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven unless you do so as that of a child. Yeah. So let's learn a little bit about Theo. I think about Theo, Jenny, I think about Theo. Thistlwick had a habit of looking down when he walked, not because he was shy or sad, but because he believed the ground held more secrets than the sky ever could. He lived in a town called Crimbley Onwell, and the sort of place that looked sleepy even when it was wide awake. It had one bakery that always smelled of burnt sugar, a library so quiet it made clocks nervous, and a fountain in the square that hadn't worked since before Leo was born. Most people called the town boring. Theo thought it was brimming with hidden treasure. His room at the top of the Thistlewick house, an old creaky building with ivy climbing up its sides like green fingers, was filled with strange things. There were jars of marbles with cloudy eyes, feathers that never lost their shimmer, and broken watches that still ticked as if you whispered to them. He kept a shelf labeled "Probably Important Someday," where he stored things like a single chess piece, a cracked compass, and a paperclip shaped like a snail. Everything had a story, or if it didn't, Leo would determine to give it one. On the morning it all began, Leo had been walking home from the market with a loaf of crusty bread under his arm and his eyes as usual on the ground. The cobblestones of Crimley streets were uneven and full of history, so liked to think each stone had a secret carved into its underside. That's when he saw it. Just near the edge of the alley, besides Mrs. Bramble's tea shop, a glint. Not the usual kind of glint from a dropped gum wrapper or wet leaf. This one pulsed, almost as if it had a heartbeat. Leo crouched down and picked it up. It was a penny, but not just any penny. It was dark copper, almost bronze, and felt heavier than it should have. The face was as strange. No king or queen, no year or country. Instead, the surface bore a symbol that looked like an eye wrapped in vines. On the other side of the triangle, inside a circle, etched so finely it seemed to shimmer when he turned it in the light. Leo held it up, squinting, and a shiver ran down his spine. Well, you definitely are going on the shelf, he mumbled, tucking the penny into his pocket. He continued home, the bread slightly crushed from excitement. He didn't notice the street had gone a little quieter, or that the air felt warmer despite the autumn breeze. He didn't see the way the ivy on the Thistlewick house seemed to curl towards his window as he approached. Later that evening, Leo sat cross-legged on the floor in his room, sorting through the new box of useless things his Aunt Minerva had dropped off. He liked going through her odds and ends. She ran an antique stall and was always giving him curious cast-offs. He had nearly forgotten the penny until he felt the sudden weight in his pocket, as though it had grown heavier. He pulled it out again. It was warmer now, faintly humming. Leo narrowed his eyes. "Are you buzzing?" he asked it. The penny gave no answer. Of course not. That would be ridiculous. He rolled it across the floor. It spun too long, unnaturally long. Then it slowed and stopped, right in front of his foot, face up. The symbol with the eye and the vine stared back at him. Leo reached for it, and that's when he heard it. Soft, barely audible, like a breeze wrapped in syllables. "Leo." He froze, looked around. The room was silent. Even the moth in the lampshade had gone still. He leaned down again, holding his breath. "Leo," a whisper, gentle and definitely coming from the penny. He stared at it. Now, Leo wasn't the sort of boy who spooked easily. He believed in wonders before he believed in fear. Wow, now there's a lesson for all of us right there. So, what is it? Do you when a situation that is unnatural, whatever, do you fear first or do you look at it as, wow, pretty awesome? I like that. What a way to dispel fear. So instead of running away or throwing the penny into the garden, He did the only thing he could think of. He whispered back, "Yes." The penny vibrated. Leo blinked, his heart beat a little faster. He picked it up carefully as if it might bite. The metal felt warmer than before, almost alive. He held it in his palm, waiting. Nothing happened until he looked away. In the corner of his eye, he saw something shift. A flicker in the mirror, a ripple in the air, a curl of golden thread disappearing into the floorboards. Leo turned back to the penny, now cool again. Still ordinary if you didn't know better. But he did know better. "Okay," he whispered, voice steady. "You're definitely not going on the shelf." That night, Leo couldn't sleep. The penny sat on his nightstand perfectly still, as though daring him to look away again. He kept stealing glances at it between the folds of his blanket, half expecting it to roll off the table or whisper something else, but it didn't. By morning, Leo had almost convinced himself that it had all been a trick of the light or his very active imagination. After all, pennies didn't talk. Not really. He'd probably just been tired, or maybe he'd eaten too much of his Aunt Minerva's candied lavender pears. I can say I've never had those. He pocketed the penny anyway. It was Saturday, which meant no school and plenty of time for wandering. After breakfast, Leo slung on his satchel and set off through town with his usual aimlessness. He stopped by the old wishing fountain in the square, which hadn't held water in years but still collected coins from the hopeful and the nostalgic. He liked the fountain. It was quiet, and the stone lions, they're guarded, it looked like they might come to life if you asked them nicely enough. Leo climbed up into the edge and sat cross-legged, legs swinging over the cracked basin. He dug into his pocket and pulled out the strange penny. The surface caught the sunlight, glinting with that same heartbeat shimmer. He turned it between his fingers. "If you're really magic," he said to it quietly, "then I wish for a blueberry muffin with the crunchy sugar crystals on top from Miss Penelope's bakery, and," he grinned, "for it to land right in front of me like magic." He tossed the penny into the dry fountain with a clink. Nothing happened. Leo waited. He stared at the sky, then at the empty street, then at his shoes. A breeze passed by, a leaf skittered across the cobblestones, somewhere a dog barked, and then plop! Something soft and round hit the ground beside him. Leo's eyes widened. He scrambled off the edge of the fountain and stared, and there it was, a muffin. Well, sort of. It looked like a blueberry muffin. It had the sugary topping and the crinkly wrapper and the golden brown top, but there was something off about it. The color was a little too blue. The smell was faintly sweet, but underneath it, there was a strange metallic tang, like old copper coins. And when he leaned closer, he could swear it gave a tiny, twitching wobble, like it breathed. Leo poked it. It didn't move. He poked it again. Nothing. Slowly, cautiously, he picked it up. It was warm, soft, and humming. Yes, humming, just like the penny had. Leo held it at arm's length. Okay, that's not normal. He glanced back at the fountain, then at his pocket, then back at the muffin. He knew he should be excited. After all, he made a wish, and it had come true. Sort of. But this didn't feel like a miracle. It felt like a mistake. Suddenly, the muffin twitched. Leo yelped and dropped it. It landed upside down and began to spin. Slowly at first, then faster and faster. Sugar crystals flew off like sparks. The wrapper peeled itself open with a series of papery snaps. Leo backed away cautiously. The muffin stopped spinning. In its place sat the penny. just sitting there in the cracked basin like it had never left. Leo's heart pounded. He inched forward and picked it up again. It was warm. Still. The muffin was gone. He looked around the square. No one had seen. No one was there. Crimbley, unwell, was quiet as ever. But something had changed. The air felt thick, like before a thunderstorm. A street lamp flickered, even though it was daylight. The cat across the street hissed for no reason and darted under the porch. Leo tucked the penny back into his pocket, stood frozen for a long moment. Had he imagined it all? Nope. He felt it. He knew it in his bones and wished that had almost come true, but it had come back wrong. Like the world didn't quite understand what he asked for, like something had heard him and answered it in its own language. He slowly walked home, eyes scanning the street for more strange signs. Back in his room, he placed the penny in a small wooden box lined with velvet, the one he usually saved for his rarest finds. He stared at it, not sure if he felt more thrilled or terrified. "Who are you?" he whispered. The penny, of course, didn't reply. But then Leo turned away. He thought he heard it hum just for a second, and a quiet, coppery sigh, as if it were waiting, waiting for the next wish. I'll just stop there. So, manifestation. We'll pick back up. I love the storyline. So, seriously, have any of you had what one would call a very unusual encounter? Now, Gilbert, I remember when all those things were showing up in your yard. Did you ever figure that one out? That was a pretty interesting form of manifestation. And the question I'm looking for is if you've ever had an unusual event, things that were you knew were out of the ordinary, not usually happening, kind of defy your own logic. What'd you do with that? Did you break it down? Did you just chalk it up to chance circumstance? Do you think it would may have been a part of a manifestation that somehow someone left something out of the recipe? I mean, metaphorically, it looked like a cake, had the same texture, but when you bit into it, something was left out. You know what I'm talking about? And sometimes manifestations happen like that. And it gets back to, it's amazing that we're able to manifest anything at all in our lives because we're in a cacophony of white noise. And it's all of us are walking in a 24/7 buzz. Not the kind that you seek, but this is that unnatural kind of buzz. So, could it be, getting back to my original question, what have you manifested in the last year? Looking back at that, could you say that, well, actually things were manifesting, but there was something wrong? It again, much like the Leo's muffin, there's something wrong with it. Looked like it, but no. And it's interesting because in my own life, I have found that to be the case as well. You know, man, I know how to do this stuff. It's like, yeah, if you're an entrepreneur, and I know there's many of you here, um, excuse me, as I just saw Gilbert's thought. He said, and I guess you're responding this to something else in here. Season to your taste. Thank you, Dr. Hugh. Gilbert said, I didn't purposely manifest it. That I know of seemed to just happen. Interesting. Something was going on. Someone was manifesting something, right? I mean, if it appears here, and many times manifestation doesn't need so much a physical matter. Excuse me. Mm, made my little blend of pomegranate juice, cherry juice, and it's delicious. But anyway, I take away from that. So, for instance, if you are thinking that well, let's just say if you're an entrepreneur, and let's say that you're, you know, into funding your company. Well, how do you do that? And there's a lot of different ways. You can self-fund it. And depending how big the idea, maybe you can, maybe you can't, which is normal. You just do OPM, other people's money. And because if depending on what your idea is, it may take a lot to launch it, to actually make it happen. So how do you do that? Manifestation is, for me, what I've learned is not so much the physical as it is the thought. For instance, I'll just throw this out. I love these Friday little chats. They're so cozy. Um, my ideas were always into technology. In many cases, uh, technology that hadn't even been invented yet. And I was trained because when I was selling post-production services, you have to sell the intangible as though it is actual because you're basically selling an idea. Now, how the idea works and what's behind it is something, but that's how it works. You have to be able to do that. And that is a form of instant manifestation. You're sitting before, you know, could be a board of directors, could be the C-level executives. And when you have all those eyes on you, you best be able to know how to manifest your thoughts very quickly because you're being judged at the extreme level. My point to all this, what I'm trying to convey here, is that manifestation isn't always something material. That if you can see that if you can change the thoughts of others and they become in line with your vision, that is a form of manifestation at the highest level. And hopefully someone out there can use this. You can use it in your own life. And getting back to the muffin that was Leo's problem, it was indeed um, sometimes you cannot communicate in the proper energy, the proper vibration, and you're unsuccessful in closing the deal. Um, it's pretty interesting when you think about it in that particular stance. So, um, looking back at your life, bet you can start seeing now where, you know, been wanting that, been thinking that, been keeping it. It's in my focus. Confession leads to possession. Speaking those things, calling those things that be not as though they are. And I learned this in the financing world. It was yeah, and I'm grateful for it. I'm look back on it, and I'll tell you, I remember the first time. the company I was the CEO, I was turning the company around, um, US Creative. And this was back in the day when the internet was just emerging out of there, but it took a lot of money. It took a lot of money. And, we had the thing back in those days called internet time. And if you were on internet time, you were already behind your competition. And in order to do that, you had to raise typically angel financing, and then angels leads into your hopefully your Series A, etc. And the thing about it is that there are other spirit beings, just like you, that have the same goal in mind and the same focus, the same determination, the same intensity. I loved it. It was battle. And it was a high that no sex could even get close to. I mean, it was just a thrill to be able to be amongst all the competitors and come out victorious. And we were competing back in the day. There was this one of the largest venture capital conferences, this Southwest Southwest Texas Venture Capital Conference, and only 20 companies got to present. And they had like 6,000 companies, uh, startups mostly, others that were into Series A's to mezzanine financing. But nevertheless, what you wanted was that coveted 10-minute spot. And if you got that spot, you were virtually assured to getting funding. And yeah, learning to manifest very quickly. And it carries forward into your life, the rest of your life. I hope if someone's finding it, I know this is like, it's probably very boring to a lot of people, but I don't know. I just say if you have lack in your life, if things are not going in the direction you're wanting them to, whose fault is that? I mean, how do you remedy it? How do you turn that around? And that's the interesting thing about the occult, because I apply those same principles in the same thing I learned in my religion. And then when you combine those together, holy crap. I mean, you can unleash some powerful, powerful shit, man. That's all I got to tell you. You can bring in entities that would cause other people to go shitless right there in their spot. I mean, to shit their pants in a second. Seriously. And they're around here. They exist, but yeah. So anyway, for those of you who may have may not found that to be of any interest, it's quite exciting. Peter, what do you say? Manifestation using our own free will. Telepathy, someone else sending a thought form to you, unbeknownst to you. Social media being yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole thing about the internet in the aspect of manifestation. In one aspect, we have become so used to it, we've become numb to it. 30 years ago, and I'm just talking like 1995, I mean, to have a search engine where you could type in anything you wanted and have a response, instant manifestation, instant gratification, and we don't stop and think about it. That we're in, we're so, as we talked yesterday, we're so blinded. There are those who can see, and then there are those who can see. And we're not alone. Trust me, we're not alone anywhere around here. Um, they're all around us. In fact, let's just see here real quick. Have a little fun. Let's see if so turning on the REM pod. Let's see if we can get any. We'll wait and see what happens there. See if the room is hot. So anyway, just looking at some of how is everybody doing? So anyway, manifestation. I hope that my point for all this when I was doing this, when I thought of it today, was to, if manifestation is real, and I believe it is, then we're really dropping the ball. As many people that are in here, and so I just use the nominal process in statistics, and I'm using it a factor of 10. So let's say 100 people are watching this. I don't know how many in the chat room, but I figure you've got 10 friends. So that's 1,000 that we begin to look at, and then that 1,000 begins to express outward. Why is it that we can't manifest better on group levels? Why is it that we can't manifest a counter to the insanity that's going in the world? Because they're manifesting. And seriously, I don't I can't wrap my head around it. I try. But the reality is, if that's reality, we're all immersed into it. So who's manifesting what? Whose will is being manifested that it's affecting physical reality? It doesn't seem to be you and I. We seem to be able to affect on limited, smaller levels, although I will say this, that we've proven that we can affect the weather. But that whole thing, one of the things that I have found that most people don't grasp is prosperity. What does it mean to be prosperous? I mean, if you're struggling to pay your bills, that's not prosperity. That's a burden. And if it is true that the universe does not know lack, then we have created lack as a result of what? A collective manifestation of our species? I can see it back here. It's like, it gets a little deep. But I still say and contend that if we all were prosperous, imagine this, I knew it was going to happen. Stop. All right. All right. I got you. Second. There we go. Um, Imagine what we could do. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I love Fridays and sit back and just sit around and pass the joint and talk about it. So, yeah, why is it? We should be able to do this. We should be able to take odds and come out on top. If we're as powerful as we think we are, then, and if there are people who are lacking, who have been a part of this group that struggle with that, we should be able to collectively combine our concentration. I mean, I look at it as extraction of, it's supercharged, condensed. We should be able to affect markets. We should be able to do things that, well, gives us the advantage. If processes are in place, then why aren't we doing it? Imagine if we became rich enough as a group that we could start our own, the sky's the limit. We could start our own organic farms. We could begin to build, earth neutral homes. I mean, we should be able to buy land. We should, if that is the purpose, if that's what your purpose is. And I think that that would be a worthy uh, function. I'm just talking. Yeah. Nixon said it best. He said, I've been rich and I've been poor, and I can tell you being richer is better than being poor. And I know that, people get hung up and say, well, you're talking about materialism. Well, yeah, because that's what it is. We're in here, baby. I mean, yeah, and being cold in the winter and, you know, hot as hell in the summertime, that sucks. And, I think people are drawn towards a light of hope, prosperity, people that have learned that, and there's different levels in that and how to be fluid within that. People would be drawn to that. How do you guys do that? I don't know. Maybe I'm just in my own world. I am. Um, Guy, I'm right there with you. Yeah. Hey, I know that love is what makes the world go around, but I got to tell you what, a first class ticket's hell of a lot better than economy. That's all I got to say. And you're talking to a man who was flying 200,000 miles a year. Nothing like having seat 1A. And if you're on the 787 Dreamliner, which is pretty cool, actually I would really recommend that you would look at not 1A, but actually it's like 1C. And yeah, anyway. Stuff just says Wayne's World. Uh, but yeah, I mean that I just think it is. I like it when people and I have seen the that other side. I mean, but you never stop. I don't think I ever will. And neither will they. That's affirmation. That's interesting. It's twice that's done that. All right. All right. All right. But that sounded good, didn't it? All right. We welcome you. All right, everybody. Yeah, equicentric. That says they seem to be the masters of manifestation of misery. And it's again, it's that question that's inside of me that's going. So what are we just maybe? Do we just live in fear? Do we live in, you know, this idea that there's just so much resources and I don't know. I think wealth does things to people. I get that. And it makes people do things that they swear they would never do. Seen it. Um, but that can't stop you. It- no, yeah. That's where that forgive thing comes in. Let it go. And yeah, you remember the sting of it, but so what? Move along. You can't let them live rent free in your penthouse. No, no. Only I can live in my penthouse. It was per designed by me. Yeah. Why the hell would I let someone else in there? All right, everybody. Bonnie, how are you doing? Miriam, thank you. Y'all are just so kind. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, great musings, isn't it? Yeah. That's the other thing about, advancing more time on this realm is that you learn these things. And I think the real test is, well, is it going to make you better? It's going to make you, does it just eat you up? Or do you look at it and go, all right, lesson learned, move on? Yeah. You see, that's the way it goes. Mr. Natural has always said it best. We are all on this trip of this quest of the unknown. Each day we get together, it's a manifestation. Yeah. So anyway, El Gapo, thank you, my friend. I thought that was there we go. Um, I've seen the thing that wants us deaf and dumb. It's not pretty. Ain't that the truth? But I often said this, if you speak favor, I have seen that on some pretty bad hombres. And if you just speak the favor, I mean, there's nothing they can do. I mean, seriously, speak favor to them and they're going, now, what do you mean by that? And you're going, well, may you always have the best of everything. May it always go your way. Then that really confuses them. It's like heaping hot coals upon their head. Where did I hear that before? All right, everybody, have yourself a great Saturday and Sunday with Saturnalia tomorrow. Give yourself a high praise to Saturn. And then on Sunday, just party like, you got the groove going on. Yeah. Learn, grow, love. Yeah. Feast, sleep, rest, whatever you want to do. Yeah. I'll be out planning. Love it, love it, love it. And so getting ready for, manifestation of beautiful asters. We've got a lot of them going in. So, all right. Much love, everyone. Thank you for your support. Thank you for hitting the like button. And I just speak favor back on you 100-fold. Now, there you go. How about that? All right. Until we see each other.